Rob, Geist Pinfold is a lecturer in international security at King's College London, and he joins us from there. Rob, thanks so much for joining us. What are Iran's war aims here, given this sort of scattergun response, but just firing ballistic missiles at anything it sees fit, but then claiming it's at US assets which are based in the Gulf region?
Yeah, I think the claim that they are targeting US assets has to be taken with far more than a pinch of salt. As you will know in Doha better than I, Iran's targets are not just US bases. They are, in fact, primarily large-scale infrastructure and civilian targets as well. This is not a mistake. This is by design. Yes, you're right to categorize this as scattergun, but this is actually a completely different approach to warfighting by Iran. Normally, they go with an approach they call strategic patience, slow, steady escalation, in the belief that they can basically outlast Israel in a conflict, and they're more resilient than Israel. What they're doing now is trying to unleash as much chaos as possible to destabilize the region and global markets, hurt the economy, hurt the GCC states, in order that the US will at some point decide that this conflict is no longer worth its while anymore and will push for a ceasefire. And we've seen that Iran is targeting every single GCC state. It's prepared to burn its bridges with all of them to pursue this very uncertain and high-risk strategy. And it really shows you how Iran feels like it's facing an existential threat. For them, this is a real do-or-die moment.
Well, which way is it going to go? And how do we get there?
Well, this is the problem here. It's very easy to destabilize and cause chaos. All you have to do is keep firing missiles and keep firing drones. And that's exactly what Iran is doing. There's been all sorts of speculation that it might run out of ballistic missiles, or the ballistic missile launches can get taken out by the US and Israel, which is very much the target, the focus of those strikes, as you would imagine. But the problem here is that Iran can just keep firing them. Even if it runs out of ballistic missiles, it can still employ it. Shahed drones, for example, which don't require a specialist launch platform of any kind and can be made in a warehouse. So what you need here to end this conflict and end this instability is an agreement between some kind of a regime in Iran, not necessarily this regime, but someone. And this is exactly why the GCC states are not jumping into this fight. They know that this needs to end with a deal. For them, even if those drones and missiles and rockets are intercepted, that's still not acceptable because it continues this spiral of chaos. They need stability as soon as possible. So this is why, this is what Iran is banking on. And this is specifically why they're not just targeting the GCC states, but civilian assets within the GCC states. This is a function of Iran's strategy. It's not a mistake or a blip.
Rob, the thing is that they are bound to have their ordnance depleted. Now, the thing is, as that depletes, would they be able to widen this war and start launching terrorist attacks, perhaps, on Western cities?
That's entirely plausible and possible. And we know, we've heard that an IRGC cell was arrested in the UK recently. There's been Iranian people arrested in Bahrain, for example, for showing support for the attacks by Iran. So that's another potential route for Iran's strategy of instability and chaos, basically causing all sorts of instability within a country rather than just firing missiles from without. But I should stress that it doesn't really matter in terms of the missile stocks. Iran can and has enough missiles to keep causing chaos. Even one drone or one missile is enough to keep markets unstable and volatile, to stop the GCC states from recovering. So Iran, this is a high-risk strategy because it burns its bridges with the Gulf states. It is indefinite. It can go on forever and keep spiraling on. But at the same time, it's infinitely and very easily achievable. And Iran is achieving it. They are creating chaos. They are widening the scope of the conflict. They are hurting the global economy. That is exactly what this strategy is designed to do.
Rob, the thing is, we also have to look at what Donald Trump's war aims are. He's come up with 9 reasons, ranging from regime change, imminent threat, no nukes, the Israelis made him do it, world peace, looking after security for the next generation, I mean, the most plausible one has to be regime change, does it not? But what's your take? Very quickly.
Well, regime change can mean a lot of things, right? When we're saying regime change, are we talking about regime collapse, destroying the Iranian regime, or are we talking about reshuffling the decks at the top, having a new leader in power? The GCC states would much rather a regime reshuffling. The Israelis seem much more comfortable with regime collapse and even the possibility of indefinite chaos. And this is where, as the war goes on, you're going to start to see a divergence between the US and Israel. We don't know exactly how the US intends to get there, but we do know that the Israelis have a long-term aim here in terms of destabilization and chaos. They are quite happy for the fight to go on indefinitely. The GCC states and the US, well, the GCC states definitely aren't, and they'd like to hope that the US isn't either. And we'll see exactly how those divergences pan out as the war continues.
Rob, thanks. Rob Geist Pinfold there joining us from King's College, London.